Welcome to the Home Academy. Today we will discuss about gender inequality. So before going to the whole discussion, we will throw some light on gender inequality. Uh, the word gender cannot be used to refer to biological difference between males and females. That difference is best described by using the word sex. Gender refers to the social, cultural, and psychological characteristics by which human behavior is categorized as masculine or feminine. But in sociology, gender refers to difference society posits in categorizing human beings as masculine and feminine. So, gender is not determined by an individual's biological characteristics, but by how society looks at the roles of men and women. Gender is socially constructed. Men and women are both causes and both plays a vital role in the reaction and development of their families on a particular and the society in general. Indeed, the struggle for equality has been one of the major concerns of the women's movement all over the world. In India, since long back, women were considered as an oppressed section of the society and they were neglected for centuries. As Gandhiji said that woman is the complement of man and not inferior. The preamble of the constitution promises to secure of all its citizens justice, economical, social and political. The sense of insecurity, humiliation and helplessness always keep a woman mum. Our whole socialization is such that for any unsuccessful marriage which results on such violence or divorce, it is always the woman who is hold responsible. Cultural selects the tradition and discriminate against women. Cultural selects and traditions that discriminate against women may be officially discredited, but they continue to flourish at the grassroots levels. Actually, the concept of gender inequality refers to the obvious or hidden disparities among individuals based on the performance of gender. India has ranked 10th out of 125 countries all over the world in gender biasness. Note it. Problems, it's very important point. Problems is mainly seen into rural areas because many rural people think that the girl child is burden on them. But now this problem is seen in urban areas also. The afflicted world on which we live is characterized by deeply unequal showing of the burden of adversities between women and men. Number third, inequality between men and women can take many different forms. Indeed, gender inequality is not one homogeneous phenomena, but a collection of disparate and interlinked problems. The problems of inequality in employment being one of the most issue today. Similarly, there are so many different types of gender inequalities which exist in the contemporary societies, like natality inequality is there, professional or employment inequality, ownership inequality is there, household inequality, special opportunities inequality, and gender discrimination on different social institutions in the family, religion, and so on. So let us start from natality inequality. In this type of inequality, a preference is given for boys or girls. That many male dominated societies have, gender inequality can manifest itself in the form of the parents wanting the newborn to be a boy rather than a girl. There was a time when this could be no there was a time when this could be no more than a wish, but With the availability of modern techniques to determine the gender of the fetus, sex selective abortion has become common in many countries. So this was the type of natality and inequality which is existing in the modern, in the contemporary society. And the second is the professional or employment inequality. In terms of employment as well as promoters in work and occupation, women often face greater handicap than men. A country like Japan and India may be quite equalitarian in matters of demography or basic facilities, and even to a great extent in higher education, and yet to progress to elevated levels of employment in occupation seems to be much more problematic for women than for men. Men get priority in seeking job than women. This is the professional or employment inequality. And number third is ownership inequality. We are talking about gender inequality. These are the types of gender inequality. So number third is ownership inequality. In many societies, the ownership of property can also be very unequal. Even basic assets such as home and land may be very asymmetrical shared. The absence of claims to property can not only reduce the voice of women but also make it harder for women to enter and flourish on commercial, economic, and even some social activities. This type of inequality has existed in most part of the world, though there are also local variations. For example, uh, though traditional though traditional property rights have favored men in the back of India. This is the ownership inequality. And number fourth is household inequality. There are often enough basic inequalities in gender relation with the family or the household which can take many different forms, case even in case in which there are no overt sign of anti-female bias in say survival or non preference or education. Even in promotion to higher executive position, the family arrangements can be quite unequal in terms of sharing the burden of housework and childcare. It is quite common in many societies to take it for granted that while men will naturally work outside, it is it is quite common in many societies to take it for granted that while men will naturally work outside the home, women could do it unequal shared household, or we can say women could do it if and only if they could combine it with various inescapable and unequal shared household duties. This is sometimes called division of causes, though women could be forgiven for seeing it as accumulation of causes. The reach of this inequality includes not only unequal reaction with on the family but also derivative inequalities in employment or in recognition in the outside world. Also, the established family of this type of division or accumulation of labor can also have far reaching effects on the knowledge and understanding of different types of work on professional circles. This is called household inequalities. And the fourth one is special opportunities inequality. Even when there is a relative little difference in basic facilities including schooling, the opportunities of higher education may be for favor for young women than for young men. Indeed gender bias in higher education and professional training can be observed even in some of the richest countries in the world, in India too. Sometimes this type of division has been based on the superficially in innocuous idea that the respective provinces of men and women are just different. And gender discrimination on different social institutions. We will now discuss gender discrimination on different social institutions like family, religion. First of all, we will discuss gender discrimination on different in families. In most households, the father is considered as head of the family and hence the center of authority. Woman and the center of the authority. Woman generally performs kitchen work, child care, and other domestic chores, regardless of whether a woman is in paid employment outside the home or not. Domestic work is considered as important as paid work, which is generally done by men. Even though there is a gradual increase in the number of women being employed outside the home in housework, the image of a male as the breadwinner continues to persist. This gender division of labor also give rise to an unequal division of power between males and females within the household. Authority and property are usually transferred in the male line. Although women may a primary role in the survival and maintenance of the household, their position is household decision making as almost secondary. In India, nearly 30% of the households survive on the earning of women. In such female headed household, it is not uncommon to see her being subject to physical and mental violence. The family in this, the first dissemination, the role allocation between son and daughter is not based on ability but on sex. Such pattern of preparing daughters and sons for playing different roles is known as gender biased socialization. Now gender now we will discuss religion in gender discrimination on different social institutions. Like, religion is one of the institution. Religion has had a profound impact on human behavior. Religion has a long past, and religious texts have been mostly composed by men. Since women were not allowed to receive education for a long time, they could not read what was actually written in the religious texts, so these have often been used to discriminate against women. Many a time religion practices double standards, in that in one breath it says that women should be treated with the highest respect, and in another it upholds such practices as humiliation of widows, child marriage, or sati. And there are other so many issues of gender inequalities which we will discuss in the next lecture. Hope you got all these ideas about gender inequalities which I have discussed today.